can't do this anymore, Mr. Walker. Your daughter, she doesn't respond." Ethan Walker sat motionless in his sleek black leather chair, fingers gently gripping a metal pin, his tired gaze fixed out the 30th floor window, where dusk was slowly settling over Manhattan's skyline. He had heard those words too many times. This was the 5th nanny in 3 months, and each time the words pierced deeper, like icy needles to the chest. "When you say she doesn't respond, what exactly do you mean?" His voice was sharper than intended, not from anger, just pure exhaustion. "She doesn't talk, doesn't play. She just sits there, staring out the window, or clutching that photo." The woman hesitated. Ethan closed his eyes. He knew exactly which photo. The last one they'd taken with Rachel, 2 weeks before her final hospital admission. "You can send your invoice to HR," he said quickly. "My assistant will handle the paperwork." "It's not that I don't care, Mr. Walker. I can't reach her." "I understand." He cut her off. "Thank you for trying." The soft click of the door closing echoed louder than it should have, as if it sealed away yet another fragile hope. Ethan leaned back, eyes fixed on the ceiling, as though answers might be written there. Another one gave up, another who didn't understand that Lily didn't need to be managed, she needed something else. And he, her father, still had no idea what that something was. Ethan rose from his chair, leaving the half-signed contract on the walnut desk. He walked to the window, where the golden light of evening spilled across the cold glass walls of the city. New York unfolded before him like a perfect blueprint, precise, stable, every angle touched by his hand. Buildings he had designed dotted the Manhattan skyline. He had built an empire, but couldn't hold together the one home that truly mattered. Lily, she used to call him Daddy with innocent affection. Now it was just Dad, shorter, colder. "Dad, will you have dinner with me and Mommy tonight?" she had asked 6 months ago, on a Sunday evening, the night before Rachel went into the hospital for the last time. "Mom says even busy dads need to eat," she'd said softly, fidgeting with her dress. He had laughed, tousled her hair, and promised, "Tomorrow, for sure. I'll have dinner with both of you." But tomorrow never came. Work always found a way in, urgent revisions, client calls. And then Rachel was gone. Lily never asked again. She barely spoke now. Her sentences had shrunk into polite, automatic phrases. "Yes, Dad. No, Dad. I'm fine." But Ethan knew nothing was fine. He wondered, had he ever truly listened to his daughter, or had he just responded out of duty, not care? Outside was a city he had conquered, a skyline etched with his vision and name. But behind this door was a broken home, with a child slowly disappearing into silence. That afternoon, Ethan stood by the window again, his gaze drifting downward, to a small park nestled between slabs of concrete and steel. There, Lily sat alone on her usual bench beneath the old maple tree, her pale floral dress swaying gently in the breeze, but her small frame utterly still, like a statue. He didn't know how long she had been there. No one updated him on Lily's schedule anymore. The little girl who once ran through gardens now simply waited. But for what? For whom? Then he saw her, a woman he didn't recognize walking toward his daughter. Not a nanny, certainly not hotel staff. Her dress was brightly patterned, her dark hair loose and wavy, and the most striking detail, she was barefoot. In buttoned-up, fast-paced New York, her presence was a soft brushstroke on a harsh canvas. Ethan's instinct was to call security, but he stayed still. The woman sat on the grass across from Lily, pulled a small radio from her bag and turned it on. A Brazilian melody filled the air, smooth, sunlit, and alive. She began to dance. Not a performance, but a kind of dancing that felt like breathing, essential, pure. And then, impossibly, Lily smiled. Not a full grin, but a soft flicker of light in her eyes, like a lamp finally reconnected to its power source. The woman reached out, an invitation, and the miracle happened. Lily took her hand. She stood up, for the first time in months of quiet shadow, and stepped into a wordless dance led only by music and laughter. Ethan gripped the glass as if letting go would break the moment. That small radio played lyrics he didn't understand, but his heart did. Beneath the maple tree, in a city he once thought he owned, his daughter was coming back to life. And the one who did it was a barefoot stranger. Ethan left his office, no jacket, no glance at the unsigned contract. He descended through the lobby like a man wandering in a building he no longer recognized. When he reached the park, he stopped at the edge of the stone path, just far enough not to break the spell. Lily was laughing as she twirled, her dress spinning like petals in the wind. The woman looked up and caught his eye. She smiled, not a polite or guarded smile, a warm, unguarded one, as if he were an old friend returning after a long trip. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice soft with a lilting accent. "I didn't know she was your daughter." Ethan shook his head. "Don't apologize. You did something no one's been able to do in months." "It's just music," she replied, settling onto the grass. "I don't have a psychology degree. I'm not a specialist. I just believe music can reach where words can't." Lily ran over, hair tangled and cheeks flushed. "Daddy, she dances like the fairies from the stories Mommy used to read." Ethan's chest tightened. Rachel's name, spoken for the first time without tears. The woman looked at him. "I'm Isabella. I'm staying for a few weeks, seeing the city, and maybe finding myself a little too." "Ethan," he replied, and "thank you." Isabella didn't answer right away. She simply nodded, then turned back to Lily. "One more song?" The girl nodded eagerly. Ethan could only sit on a nearby bench and watch as his daughter lived again through music, through laughter, through a stranger who had brought summer into the middle of Manhattan. Ethan hadn't planned to invite her. At first, he just wanted to say, "Thank you." But when Lily pleaded, "Dad, can Miss Isabella have dinner with us?" he couldn't say no. Isabel hesitated, then nodded. "If it's not too much trouble." "Not at all," Ethan replied, surprising even himself. The penthouse, once a home, hadn't welcomed a guest in a long time. The dining table, grand and unused, had gathered an invisible dust of silence. But that night felt different. Isabella stood in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, chopping vegetables with Lily, like they'd done it 100 times before. "Dad is cooking," Lily whispered, disbelief in her voice, like she'd just witnessed a rare kind of magic. Ethan just smiled, clumsily stirring the simple pasta dish Rachel once taught him. "Do you remember?" Lily asked suddenly, her eyes on him. "Mom used to dance in the kitchen when you cooked too slow." He froze. He didn't look at Isabella, but he felt the air soften like a warm blanket. No one rushed to change the subject or fill the silence. They let it breathe. Lily kept talking. About little things. The dress her mom loved. How Rachel called lasagna cheese pillows. How they always had Sunday dinners together. Ethan listened, for the first time, without flinching. After dinner, there was no TV. They just talked. Lily lay across Isabella's lap, eyes fluttering closed. "She hasn't slept like this in months," Ethan whispered. Isabella said nothing. She just smiled. And Ethan, a man who lived among perfect structures, suddenly understood. Sometimes healing begins with a simple dinner, a slightly bland pasta, a few old memories, and a stranger who made the kitchen warm again. They hadn't planned anything special. Things just unfolded naturally, like a gentle rhythm no one wanted to interrupt. During Isabella's days in New York, they began sharing small, ordinary moments. Things that might seem simple, but to Lily, they were an entire world waking back to life. In the mornings, Ethan brewed coffee, Isabella washed fruit, and Lily picked songs from the tiny radio Isabella always carried. Soft sambas and bossa novas filled the sleek apartment, making it feel more like a home than a designer showroom. One Saturday, Lily suggested, "Let's go to Central Park, but this time I'll be the guide." So they went, all three of them. Ethan left his laptop behind. Isabella didn't check her phone. Lily held a tiny folded map, leading the way like a miniature explorer. They stopped at the pond, where model boats drifted gently across the water. Lily said, "Mom used to say every boat carried a little dream." Isabella didn't answer. She just held Lily's hand and nodded. Then they shared ice cream. Ethan, as always, chose vanilla. Lily and Isabella picked passion fruit, a flavor Ethan had never tried. Lily winked. "Just try one spoon, Dad. It's a little sour, but super fun." And it was. Not because of the taste, but because of the moment. Laughing together, not out of politeness, but out of something real, as if the grief was still there, but no longer the main character. Lily started talking more, drawing more, laughing more. One afternoon, she hugged Isabella tightly and whispered, "You're like sunshine, but with dance moves." Ethan heard it, and he knew something was taking root. It had no label, no timeline, but it was real. On the way back home, Lily held both their hands, one on each side. No one spoke, but all three felt it. This wasn't just an outing. It was the first step into something that might one day be called family. 3 days later, just as Ethan was about to ask if Isabella wanted to come over again, Lily burst into the living room, her face tense. "Miss Isabella said she's going back to Brazil tomorrow." Ethan turned sharply, as if punched in the chest. Isabella stood near the door, holding a small bag. "I wasn't going to bring it up yet. My tourist visa's almost up. I have to go." "So? You're really leaving?" His voice was low. "I'll come back. New York is beautiful," she smiled gently, but her eyes betrayed the weight of goodbye. Lily stepped forward, voice firm. "You can't go. I haven't taught you Mommy's spin dance. You haven't seen the cat I drew on my bedroom wall." "Lily," Ethan started, trying to ease the moment. "No, everyone leaves. Mommy left. Now you're leaving, and then no one will be left." Her voice cracked. Ethan pulled her into his arms, feeling her small frame trembling. Isabella was silent for a moment. "I don't want to leave, but I can't stay, not without a real reason." A long pause. Ethan looked at her, then at Lily. "Then let's give her one." Isabella frowned, unsure. Ethan took a deep breath. "Have you ever thought about teaching dance here in New York? I know people who can help with the work visa. I could help start the studio, not out of pity, because I think we need you here." "Dad's right," Lily chimed in. "And you still have to teach him how to dance." The comment made Isabella laugh, her eyes glistening. Then, "I'll think about it." But in her eyes, Ethan saw it. She had already started choosing to stay. And he, a man who once only built with steel and glass, had just drawn up the most important blueprint of his life, to keep the woman who brought his daughter back into the light. A month can feel painfully slow when you're not sure if the one you're waiting for will come back. Lily marked each day with a red line on the fridge calendar. Every morning, she asked the same question: "Is today the day Miss Isabella calls?" And then, on a soft June afternoon, just as Ethan was about to answer an email, his phone rang. An unknown number. He picked up, his heart beating strangely fast. "Hello? Can you pick me up at the airport?" Isabella's voice came through, clear, calm, and sunlit like her. "I just landed." Ethan shot to his feet. "You're back? I promised, didn't I?" She laughed. At the airport, Lily ran like a storm into her arms. No greeting, no hesitation, just a hug so tight it erased the distance. Ethan arrived moments later, slower in step, but not in heart. "You're here," he said, not needing to say more. "And staying," Isabella replied, her hand firmly wrapped around Lily's. In that moment, amid the airport's noise and rush, Ethan knew, sometimes what matters most isn't who left, but who returns, wholeheartedly. 1 week after Isabella returned to New York, the small sign on the old studio door was replaced with a new name, handwritten in graceful script: Soul Dance Studio, Dance of the Sun. On the first day of class, there were only 3 students: Isabella, Lily, and Ethan. A trial session for 2 very demanding students, Isabella joked, adjusting the strap of her small radio. Lily was ready, soft shoes on, hair in a tight bun, eyes glowing like stars. Ethan, on the other hand, stood stiffly in the corner like a lamppost, unsure of its place in the room. "I think Dad needs extra warm-up," Lily whispered, giggling. Isabella pressed play. Brazilian rhythms filled the studio. Light, joyful, impossible to resist. She stepped toward Ethan and extended her hand. "Remember your promise," she said softly. "You owe me a dance." Ethan looked at her, then at his daughter. Lily gave him a knowing nod. No backing out. He took Isabella's hand, this time without hesitation. They started slow. 1 step, then another. Not perfect, not polished, but honest. Lily twirled around them, her dress floating like a kite in sunlight. Her laughter echoed through the room. A sound Ethan thought he'd never hear again. In that moment, he wasn't the architect who built towers. He was a man learning how to live again, through each step, each smile, and through 2 girls pulling him back into the light. 5 years later, Ethan stood by his 30th floor window, once a place from which he viewed Manhattan like a conqueror. Now he was simply looking for his people. Down below, in the little park where everything began, Isabella played music from her familiar radio, guiding her outdoor dance class. Her dress swayed in the sun, her steps like notes brushed onto the grass. And Lily, now 12, was teaching her little brother, Tom, their youngest, their second miracle, as Ethan often called him, how to turn, step, and follow the beat. "No, like this, Tom," she giggled, gently correcting his stance. Tom stumbled after her, then burst into laughter when he tripped over his own feet. Ethan watched from above. He once feared Lily would never smile again. Now she was passing that smile down to her little brother through the very dance her mother once taught. His phone buzzed. A call from Tokyo. "Urgent." Ethan stared at the screen, then turned it off. He put on his jacket and headed out, toward the park, toward real life. When he arrived, Tom came running, arms flailing with joy. Lily grabbed his hand and called out, "Dad, don't just watch, come dance with us." Isabella smiled and reached out. No words needed. Ethan stepped into that circle, where music had become their shared language, where grief had rhythm, and what was once lost was no longer unreachable. And they began to dance, not for performance, not for perfection, but for presence, because life, after all, is meant to be danced together.